Hello, YouTube. Ronan Kazi. Wouldn't be a video unless I screwed up the beginning. So, Renegades Retreat on Nightmare World Tier 3. Earlier, I did a video on what's next. You plan, you think about, I can hardly wait till that day comes. I can hardly wait till I'm finally married. I can finally wait till I can hardly wait till I finally graduate. I can hardly wait till I graduate out of college. I can hardly wait till I get my new job. I can hardly wait till the baby's here. And we talked about all those things. Well, we're here. We're in Nightmare. I went out by myself after getting to World Tier 3, Nightmare. And I'm in a dungeon, Renegades Retreat. One of the things I was worried about was my build going to be good enough? And I think it is. And this is before I've done a lot of upgrading on my weapons. I don't usually worry about that till I'm near the end game. I don't know what level loot I was supposed to get before I started doing it. After this, I talked to someone and I sloth. And I started worrying about that. I went and sold everything. And so now I'm doing the last part of Renegades Retreat. Right now I have a two-handed weapon. But I don't know if this is going to be then right. Even though I've said I can hardly wait till I get World Tier 3. We automatically start thinking about the next thing. Now, do you do that immediately? Does it take you a week, a day, an hour? The next minute and you're on to the next? Or do you just never go on to the next? Do you reach a point where you go, yep, I achieved all my goals and I'm done? It's not a good, it's not a bad, it's just who you are. Whatever that is. Can you change it? For sure. Will it change in different parts of your life? Yes. What I'm finding as I articulate these thoughts to you, what comes to mind is all of this stuff is always variable, are when you are in your life, what the circumstances are, and what you need to do. It seems like a constant flux of variables. Who sets those variables? Again, we'll get back to the determinism and free will, but you're determining what variables. The variables exist, so that's not... It's the level of importance you put on these variables. There was a point when my children were the most important thing, more important than my wife and everything. And they're very important now, but as I've moved through life, they started their own story. And I was listening to a podcast, and the person talked about, and I'm going to boil it down. I don't remember exactly what he said, so I wouldn't be doing it justice, and I'm not going to quote him. But most people go through life just focused on themselves. They're the center of their own movie. And that never changes. They don't go, I wonder what those people in the building. I'm just kind of not like that. I realize my children have their own life. And I'm not as big part because when I was their age, my parents didn't play a role. I could care less what they thought. If I could go back in time, I would tell them sorry, but I can't. So that's just how it is. So I'm here. This is what's next. I've moved on to the next thing. There's a saying when I was a kid, I was really big. I started playing golf because my father was overweight and everyone thought that if I went golfing with him, he'd lose weight. Now, I was a naive child because I just thought you did things and it happened. But, looking back at my dad's life and what he did for a living, I understand why he wasn't going to lose any weight. It wasn't in his wheelhouse. It's not anything he wanted to do. But I played golf, and one of the first people I emulated was a golfer named Bobby Jones. He's known for a lot of things, but he was one of the first people that did a Grand Slam, I think, if I remember, as an amateur. And that's when the Grand Slam was different than it is now. And he had a wood shaft putter, so I had to have a wood shaft putter because I wanted to be like Bobby Jones. And when you're around golf, there's a phrase, a good walk spoiled. And that's sometimes what this constant treadmill, there was a point in the 70s where they really demonized that kind of drive, you're on the hamster wheel. And we've gone off and it oscillates. And if you start thinking about all these things, they ebb and flow. It seems very natural when you're floating on the waves up and down. And the ocean's really, even more than the Great Lakes. I love the Great Lakes. I love fresh water. But there's something about the undulation of the ocean. It's always undulating. Even when it's dead ass calm, you can feel a little bit of the force. And maybe the world's like that. Now I'm going to get really dancing Lee masters on you. But you've achieved your goal, and now we're doing the next thing. Now this is enjoyable for me because what I had thought in my head setting this up is Just a Gamer had told me that my build wasn't going to be strong enough. He had watched some of the gameplay. He goes, you're going to need this, that, and the third. I stopped playing how I was. Now, I let an outside person influence me. Well, here's the difference. Obviously, Just a Gamer and I don't know each other, but we do know each other in this realm. And he's watched some of my videos, so he has a pretty good idea of what he thinks I'm about. And so he gave me some advice, and I took it. So the moment he gave me that advice, I changed how I started playing the game. And now I'm here, and I think my build's okay. But I changed it from what it was. And you might have heard the conversation I had in the video called 18. That's where I ran all 4 classes of Diablo. There's only one class, it's true. But there's 4 other classes you could be. I ran those all in at the same time. I ran the same mission, the same time. They're all right around 18. Just let you see the gameplay. I talked over that. I didn't talk about the gameplay and look at this and look at this. But you can look at the gameplay and you can see what kind of gameplay. That chain thing just fucked me up. Like I didn't know how to get out of it. It was horrible. So you see I'm resetting. I move far away and I'm trying to think about what's going on. And then I'm going to go back in there. Like I've told you before on this build, if I lightning, I heal so I can stand anywhere. But I had a pretty good idea what I was going to do moving forward. And as I went through the content, I died less and less. And on this content, I noticed if I get alpha striked, if I run into a group and there's too many in the group, I can't kill them in 1 second. I kill them really fast, but there's a certain size group. If I don't pop, there's probably a precedence. Probably if I do Hurricane and run into a group, they do 20% less damage. And then if I immediately hit my Viper Vile Jammer skill, then that starts poisoning them in AoE. And then if I did the Storm, then I'm going to get my health back. But that has to happen like really fast. So part of this video is you've gone your whole life to achieve this thing. Do you take time for yourself? There's a story about more affluent kids when they finish college, they go to Europe, go to hostels, and go around Europe and travel Europe. And traveling abroad's great, but I don't know how much you appreciate it. I got to go to Germany later in my life. Maybe in my 30s, I went for a company called Carl Zeiss, and then I went for a company called Wenzel. And it was fantastic because I was adult enough to appreciate it, and I wasn't so set in my ways that I was like, yeah, I'll try schnitzel. Yeah, I'll eat that soup that I don't know stomach soup, and then you're all going to make fun of me. So at that point, I have plateaued at some points later in my life where I enjoyed it. I micro in my job, but like personally. Now here's a boss. I thought I had finished this one, and then it said the treasure room. So I didn't know if this was a new mechanic, but it was the final boss. And you're going to see what I realize after fighting this boss. You're going to see the same thing. It takes a while to kill him. Part of the problem is I have a melee generator. Maybe I should have switched to a range generator. But this melee generator makes him vulnerable. And he has traps I'm avoiding. So when I went to Germany, this is normally when I say, please like, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, share, comment. I'm trying to get to 500. I need your help. I need your help to get to 500. I told you what I want to do. Once I get to 500, I'll kind of put my face on this a little bit more. We'll be going more towards podcast, video cast kind of stuff. And the ultimate goal is to get enough money where I can buy a laptop. And then after I review it and I use it for a month, I will give it away. And the idea being, if I could generate enough money that I could buy one laptop a month, maybe I don't put out, maybe I put 10 out because, I got to have time setting it up. But I'd like to do it, give it the thing, and then raffle it off. That's what I'd like to do. Because I don't like a lot of the laptop reviews. There's a couple reviewers that are really top shelf. But the majority of people, they have tons of followers, and they just read the spec sheet. Oh, and the Apple iPad version 5th generation has a M1 processor, which has 8 cores, and one is shut off and has 4. Right? That doesn't help people. What helps people is this video you're watching, when I encode it on my Android Samsung 20 FE, it's 25% slower than my iPhone 13, which has the same processor as iPhone 14, but not the iPhone 14 Pro. This is just based on specs. I'd skip iPhone 14 and just go to the next one. But I'm not an Apple guy. So that's kind of the plan in all this. I'm going to make some changes to my build, to the weapons, and I'm going to more focus in on things I need to do to be better. Thank you, YouTube. I really appreciate you. Renegades Retreat complete. See ya. Thank you. Bye.